in this class we're going to talk about groups, hierarchies, outliner, and the hypergraph. And it's basically how can we start organizing scenes as we get into more complex data inside our scenes, with the sets, with the characters, with the sound, with a lot of things that Maya has inside the interface. It can get really messy and it can get really complicated, so we have to find a way that we should organize the scene, that we can group it, we can visualize it in a different way, that it's not only from the wireframe or from the viewports. So the hypergraph, it is an old way from these 3D systems that it's a matter of visualizing your scene in a schematic way. When you have the viewports, like in this case, you might not see anything, but there might be things in the scene that you cannot see. Maybe they're hidden, maybe they are in a wireframe mode that you can't really see as well, maybe they're really far away outside of the viewports. So a really nice way of doing that, it's opening the hypergraph. So you get the hotbox menu here with the spacebar, and you go down south, and then you just select the menu called hypergraph, and that's going to open a window in that viewport that it is going to have that schematic view. At the moment it's empty because it's a new scene, it has nothing. And if I create anything, you're going to start seeing things right there. So if I go and create a sphere right there, now we can see the sphere, which is here, and the hypergraph, it's giving you that node. And again, this is an schematic view to see things. If you see the way that Maya interprets this data, it has that polygon icon right there and it has a name. So you can access things. If I want to change the name right there, I go and say ball right there. So it's going to change the name on the object, and you're going to see that change reflected on the hypergraph. Now, more things that I can do here. If I actually get one camera, now I have a camera right here in the viewport right there, that's my new camera, and the hypergraph, now it's showing that we have two elements in the scene. We have one polygon sphere and then we have one camera. So as you can see, you can grab them as well from here or from there, and a way, it's a really nice way of seeing things. If I press the Alt key, which is the A on the keyboard, it frames everything that's in the scene. So now we can see that the ball and the camera are the only things that I have in my scene so far. If I have, let's say, if the sphere is like really far away that I can't see it, and I think that I only have the camera, and then I open the hypergraph and I can see, well, there's a ball now and the sphere. So I go, where's the ball? So I select that object and then press the F key, and it's going to find it on that viewport. So again, it's a really nice way of visualizing all the elements and objects and different items that we have within that scene. Now, the hypergraph, it's pretty much a continuation from the old systems. They used to have this schematic view, and I'll show you what that means in a moment. Let me just bring more elements so you can see what this would be looking like. So if I go and get a curve and I draw a line right there, now I can have one more icon right here that is called curve right there, and it has this little image that is telling me that's a curve. So it's just trying to talk to you. I can also double click right there, and it opens that window, so I can rename this one. I can call that, this would be a line, maybe line test, and the name is going to change right there. And now I can start looking into hierarchies. In this case, I can start grouping things, and this is a really nice way of looking at things. I can actually make let's say I can make the ball to become part of the camera just by dragging and dropping like that. And now every time that I move the camera, if I zoom out on this window, every time that I select the camera, it's going to grab also the ball. So now I have the camera and the ball at the same time. And if I move the camera, the ball, it is following, because now it's under that same hierarchy, which is awesome. If I grab the line test and I do the same thing, just middle click into the camera icon right there, and now it's going to go under the group, and you can see that line here that it's telling you This line, it just shows you that tree of kind of like a genealogy, that you can see what's going on. So I can grab the curve, move it independently right here, and I can do this and I can do that. And when I grab the ball, same story, I can actually move it independently. But if I grab the camera, I am grabbing the parent node, and that's what it means. It's the parent, and then the other ones become children. So now I grab the camera and I move the camera, or I rotate the camera, or I can maybe scale the camera, and everything's going to go up and down. It's going to grow and it's going to shrink as well. So now you can see how that mini hierarchy, you can see how it actually works. There's another way of visualizing these changes, and that's called the outliner. So if you go to Window, Outliner, right there, it opens this window. Some people are more used to seeing the schematic view, like the hypergraph, and then some people prefer the outliner. And mainly what's happened here is that because the hypergraph, it's an old representation of the old systems. People that have a lot of experience, they're used to the hypergraph, but new people and new students are more familiar with the outliner. So that's the story. So here I can see that there's something similar right there. If I go to the camera, it has a plus sign, and if I expand that sign by clicking on it, I can see that there's the ball and there's a line test right here. And if I highlight each one of them, it is going to go and select that item for me. And also you can see that it has that line, again, that tree of, it's like a chart actually, that it shows you where it belongs to, who's connected to this one, is it under the parent, who's the parent, and you're going to see the names, and you're going to see also the icons right there, different icons though, but mainly the same thing. So this is one way of doing it in two different windows, and I'll show you more ways of parenting these things. When we make groups, we call them in different ways. You're going to have a lot of like 3D lingo or computer graphics lingo. One would be parenting, which is connected or related to a family. So who's your parent or your parents, and you go and just make that relation. The other one would be we do grouping, which is more like computer software. So you can grab elements and you group them, and you can have a group of objects or cameras or sets or geometry groups. And ways of doing this would be, let me just undo these ones, and it's just by checking them out. So I highlight it right there and then middle click and just let it go anywhere. And all this is organized like that. If you want to move it, you can't, because now it's snapping to the grid at the moment. And you can see both windows are updating the information right there. So I'm going to show you something more useful now that you understand that. So I'll get a new scene right there. So I'm just going to build a face so you can see how this is very useful and why we should be grouping these things. So now I'll be getting a sphere, a basic sphere right there, and scale it up, and then duplicate that sphere, bring it forward a little bit, and then just scale it down, bring it forward, and this is going to be one eye. So this is the left eye. And remember, it's always a good idea to start renaming things. So the big sphere would be the head. This one, it'll be the right eye. So we usually go like R_I, and I can duplicate this one and rename it with the left eye. Do it again, like that. So there you are. So this is just a simple face. And this is something that we can see that power of the hierarchies. If I click on my layout, that it's preset by Maya right there, that I can see the perspective and the outliner right there. I can see now the objects that I have in the scene, the geometry, and I have that visual representation that I have. I have 4 cameras because these ones are the 4 viewports. So I have this one, the top view, which would be the top view. Now we have front and side. We have 3 pieces of geometry right there. And then we have what Maya brings, just light sets that we need to have right there. If not, the whole scene would be black. So now that we have this, we can see that if I move the head, the eyes are not following right there. And it'll be useful to have a group called the face group, and then everything follows just like us, that I move the head right there, the nose follows, the eyes are following. It just makes more sense to have something like this. So I can do that in different ways. The first one is the one that I showed you. I can go there and I middle click and I drag and drop on the head icon, and this is creating that hierarchy now. If I move the head here, now I can see that only one eye is following. And that's perfect, that's what we want. So I'll do the same thing here with the left eye, go all the way up to the head. And now they're within the same hierarchy. I can bring the other window if you prefer that one. So that would be in the Hypergraph, this one right there. So now you can see that this one's showing you that the eyes are children of the head. So the head's the parent. So now we can grab this one and everything's following like that. And that's a really simple example, but you can see how useful this is to start working and organizing the scene. A lot of the scenes that you would be building or maybe given by the school, they're going to have all these things that are already built for you. But if you go ahead and do something by yourself, you can understand how and why you need to be doing this. Let me just keep on going with the hierarchy. Let's say that I want to duplicate now this sphere right there and make it even smaller, and this is going to be the right iris. Actually, if you know anatomy, this would be more like the pupil right there, and then just duplicate it and paste it right here. So now that's the pupils, and rename it. I can rename it here on the outliner as well. This should be the left. Now you can see that by default, since they were inside the group, Maya, when I duplicate these objects, Maya places them inside the same hierarchy or the same group, which is the same thing. But they should not be really under the head. If I move the head, that's fine. I can do it like that and that's fine. But if I move this eye, see, like they don't follow. If I rotate that eye, it doesn't really follow the way that I want. So to do it is that I need to go now and say the right pupil should be under the right eye, and then the left one should be under the left eye, which now we need to go and check all these things always. So go back to the head, make sure they follow. If I go back to this eye now, just by grabbing the eye, remember, now I can rotate this one, and it rotates, and it is making or forcing the pupil to keep on following that. And then just check the other eye, and this is perfect now. I can go like that. I can grab both eyes and then just do this, just to double check and make sure that everything's working. So there you are. That's a really useful way of knowing why grouping and hierarchies are really useful. Let me just show you another way of doing this. Let me just undo all these ones so everything's clear like that. And a faster way of doing this, instead of just grabbing this one under that, we can have a lot more elements, just not the head, but we can have like fingers, and we have fingernails, and we can have maybe like wrinkles and just all these subsystems or elements. So it's easier to go and say this one and then that one, especially if you don't have these ones open. You can go to this viewport and say, okay, grab the sphere and then grab the pupil with shift, and then you press the hotkey for parenting. So you have to understand how this works. The hotkey, it's actually going here to the menu called edit. You go all the way down and it's called parent, and we have the P right there, which is the P caps lock. it's capital letter, as you can see it right there, because the other one would unparent things. So the P would do it. So you can go, and here's where you get to experiment. You need to know which one to select first, because the one that you choose first, it's actually going to be maybe the dad or the child. So if I grab first the eyeball, and then second one the pupil, and I press P right there, something happened, and you can see it right here on that hypergraph. Now the pupil, it's actually the parent, and it is not what we want. This is backwards. So this is where you get to understand why or which one to select first, and how Maya just interprets all that. So you can undo by pressing Control Z and then just remembering which one you select first. So now I'll go for the pupil, and then the next one would be the eyeball, and then press the P, and now this is working. Now the eyeball, it's actually the dad or the parent of the pupil. So again, once you get it going, you kind of create a memory up here, and now you know how this works. So you know that the last one you select would be the parent. So pupil, and then the eyeball. Press P right there, and now this is getting to be organized. So now I can grab both of the eyeballs, and then at the end I can grab the head and press the P. So now that hierarchy is going back to how it was, but we're just getting faster with hotkeys. Remember, because you need to be as efficient and as fast as you can, and knowing the program, which is important. So now we have the same hierarchy, and this is that. Now we're going to talk about groups, which is the same thing, but it's just another way of doing things in Maya. That's going to take you to the same results pretty much. So let me just undo this hierarchy right there, and I can do things like this. Let me actually try this first. If I grab the pupil and then the eyeball right there, and then press Control G, that is creating a group, and you can see it right here. So what's happening right there is that Maya, it's giving you an extra node. It's creating this node which was not created, or it did not exist in this scene. So now it's just bringing that to you. So by grouping like that, you need to know that Maya is going to give you that, which is very, very useful, because you don't need to create new things, because you know that Maya will create them for you. So the only thing that the group, it's actually in the center of the universe. You can see it there on the coordinates. The group goes there. So let me do it again with the other eye. So I can go grab the pupil and then grab the eyeball and press Control G again. And there you are. Now we have two groups, this one and that one, and inside of the groups they have the eyeball, which is kind of cool though. We sometimes we need all that, and you guys, as you move ahead and you advance with Maya, you're going to see why that is useful. In a nutshell, sometimes it's really nice to have not the direct connection to the elements, but have something in between, because you can manipulate things in an easier way. So that's an easy explanation that you'll see later. So for now, I can grab the head and then the groups right there, and then press Control G again. So now I have a huge hierarchy, huge, because now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 elements under this group. And then you can see the group is not the head, but there's a node right here that's controlling the head. So now this one, I can call maybe that one, this would be the character right there, and then this is the head, and this would be left eye. You can have, depending on how you do it, but sometimes we leave the group word, or we just go like GRP, so we know that it's a group. And this is the right eye right there, and I can just go there, copy that one, Control C to copy, and then go to the control here to the other group, and then just Control V and replace the R with the L, which is the left eye. So there you are. Now we have been talking about the first like the first way of doing things, which was the schematic that Maya calls that the hypergraph. And then we have the outliner, which is the new thing from Maya, which is this list that shows you that tree, which is basically a genealogy tree, so you can see who's controlling who and who belongs to whom and things like that. And then we have parenting, we have drag and dropping, and then we also have the grouping tool. So play with those ones, just experiment with Maya, and just leave one window open like this one, either the outliner or the hypergraph. So you can, as you're doing things on the viewport, you can see things happening in these other windows. And you know, it's what's going to happen is that you're going to have a personal preference here. You're going to say, well, you know what, I think I can understand better the outliner, or I think that I can understand better the hypergraph. It's up to you, really. And both, they pretty much do the same thing. It's just different ways of visualizing what Maya has in the scene. Okay, so I will show you another example on how we can use this grouping, parenting, and the outliner and the hypergraph here. We are going to build an arm, a basic arm. So let's go and get the primitive called the cylinder right here. It's a cylinder, and call that, this is going to be the bicep, like that. And let's just do a couple of things here. First of all, we're just going to do a chunky arm, and go here, duplicate that one, pressing the Control D, and this is going to be the forearm. So rename that one right away for, and now we have the bicep, the forearm, and let's just do a couple of more things. Duplicate that one, and this is going to be the palm, and let's just make this one a little bit smaller. Actually, let me just undo that, and let's just do it smaller from that axis right here, and I just bring it to the front. And now you can see that my numbers on the scale have changed. Right here it says a scale Z, it's 0.5, and that's something that you have to be really aware of what you're doing. If not, we're going to get into more complicated things. I need to reset those values as we keep on going. So I'll go to modify and then freeze those transformations. Just go to the options box and then do it only for the scale, and then apply. So now this goes back to 1, 1, 1, which is what we need for this one, because it's going to be a parent, and we're going to have things that we don't want to translate that into our children. You know, it can be kind of like this functional hierarchy here, and I'll keep on going with this, and then let me just keep on checking the name. So this bicep, forearm, and then this is the palm, the hand palm right there, and then this is going to be the one of the fingers right there. So go to the 4 viewports, so I can do it in all sides at the same time. Go like this, go like that, and keep on going like this. Make it really small right here. So this is one of those fingers. Let me actually just make it bigger, not as small, and then go there and just place it and scale it down like that. So this is finger, index finger right there, and again look at those values. So just freeze the transformations right there, and then it goes. We have set the options box that it's only going to do it on the scale, so that goes back to 1, 1, 1, which is again what we need. So just duplicate that one one time, and then one more time right here. So now this is index finger 1, and then this one's index finger 2. So now let's start grouping things. Let me actually make a difference, something that we can differentiate this arm. So we have this like that, and this is the palm. Maybe let me think. Let me actually just shape it in a better way so we can see what's going on right here. So yes, I'm kind of going backwards here, but it's something that happens quite a lot, that you have to see things as you go, and just making them in a way make sense. So this is gonna go, okay, not this one, but just like that. Yeah, and then back on the Z, just do that. So you can see that now that I'm trying to find exit, you can see why this is so useful to see those numbers, because they're so small, there's fractions, and I can't really see them with my eye, but the computer sees them with numbers, so, which is good. So now that we have the forearm and then the palm and all that, we just need to freeze those transformations, because we don't want to have these numbers like that. So grab this one, freeze. That was where here, freeze. And then once you do it once, you can repeat the action pressing the G key. So that was the last action, and then Maya has this G key which repeats the last action. So I press G and I don't have to go back to the menu right there. And then this one, I can go down the elements that I created. And then again, these ones, they seem to be quite large, so I can just make them small. And then you can see now that I know how to highlight and select things. I'm actually going faster here. And then do the same thing, freeze those transformations, and everything is 1, 1, 1 on the scale, which is very, very important. So now that's that arm. And I'm only doing one finger now, because you'll see what I'll do, because now I know how Maya works, and I'll show you that in a moment. So let me get the outliner by going Windows, Outliner, leave it open, and then go in Window, Hypergraph right here, and I have the whole thing. So now let's just make that arm behave like an arm instead of just having all these isolated pieces like that. So I'm going to grab the forearm, and then the last one that I grab is the bicep, because the bicep, it's actually the parent, and then press P. So now always double checking, so this is going like that, and then the bicep is going like this, which is perfect. And then doing the same thing, going with this one, the palm, press the forearm, press P right here, and now do the same thing. Just if you move the forearm, the palm has to follow. If you move the bicep, everything follows. So I just do the same thing with this one. So the first section of the finger, shift, grab the palm, press P. Then the next one, grab the parent, press P. Go to the last one, grab the one before, press P. So now you know that all this is working right there, and we have built this hierarchy in a way that it has been really quick. And you can see it right here. We have forearm, palm, and then the finger. So now I can go and just grab that finger on that view, and then press Ctrl D to duplicate it. And in any view, I can actually just move it to the side, and then just do it again. So I have 3 fingers right there. I can go for 4 fingers right here. Just I can grab them all and then just move them like that. And I'm just missing the thumb right there, so I can grab this one and then duplicate it and then go the way and then just position that like that. It's pretty mechanical what I have here, but it just illustrates the example about hierarchies. So now if I grab this one, everything follows like that. If I grab the forearm, everything follows. If I grab the palm, everything follows, which is what we want. And now what is not really working, it's the pivot points that we've seen how to manipulate those ones. So let's go and fix those ones. If I grab the bicep, it's starting always from the top, because everything comes from the top, remember. And I press any manipulator just to see where the axis would be, and it's right in the center, and then we know by anatomy that the hinge or the pivot point should be somewhere here, and there, and there, and then the fingers, and so on. So now I can go and modify this one by pressing the D key on the Mac, D key, or in PCs would be the insert key, and then just move it all the way up here, and then go to the forearm, do the same thing, just position this one in a way that we know what's going on. Now grab the palm, go there, and now we can test it, just doing one by one, going really slowly, because sometimes you can keep on moving further and then you go back and then the thing's broken somehow and you don't know how to fix it. That has happened to me. So now this is working. You can see that the pivot point makes more sense, and then this one makes more sense. So let's just do the fingers really quick. let's go to the front view. I can go and switch my perspective view to the front view, and then do it here, press the D key, go up, go to my next item, and going down the hierarchy, you can do it with the arrows up and down. So I can go press the up and goes up, down goes down. Sometimes there's different connections, so just keep in mind that. If it doesn't work, well, just go and grab it with your mouse. So let's just do it like this. Go up, like that. Go up, move it like this. And then, and again, I can do the same thing. Once that I have one, I can just duplicate it because it's the same thing, and it's just a matter of repeating the task right here. So now I have the 4 fingers, and what I need to do there is just rename this one. So this is not the index, but this would be the middle finger right there. Get rid of that 7 because we don't need it, and then just copy that and paste it on that section right there. And then Maya is going to give you one number right there just to not duplicate the name. And then this one, get rid of the 8. You can see what I'm working here on the channel box, and this is the what would this be? This is a ring finger right there. So just copy that one and paste it onto the other finger segments right there. You can do it pretty quick right here. And as you are getting familiar with Maya, well, your speed's going to be faster right there. So now this is the last one. This is the pinky finger. Double click right there, Control C, grab the next segment, and then Control V, next segment, Control V right there. There you are. Now we have a really large hierarchy right there. There you are. Everything follows. And not only that, but it behaves like an arm, which is awesome. That's what we want. And this is just the beginning. Now you can see how these things are really useful, and they help you to organize your work. I can grab them all right there, switch to the local view right there, and then now just do the other ones right here. So I can get a fist. And this is a basic setup for that hierarchy. I can open that square and then just do it like that. So you can see how this is now making more sense. Now you see something like an arm, and the hierarchy is there, and all the names are there, and the scene is pretty organized. If you go to the outliner, you can see that the bicep, it's a group that you can expand, and you can start exploring that group and then just going deeper and deeper and deeper. So with that, you can experiment, and you can create an arm just as basic as this one. Just follow the steps and get familiar with all the grouping and parenting hotkeys, and then open the outliner, and then open the hypergraph, and just have fun with it. Just understand the concept behind it, in this case Maya, how Maya sees these things. Alrighty, have fun.